Just tell me when you think it's ready.
Yeah, just pause it there.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay. I think we're finally ready to go. Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. Welcome to the town board meeting for the town of Unionville, July 20th, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order, but first I'd ask you to please join me in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Okay, all the councilmen are in receipt of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 15th.
Second?
Second.
Okay, everybody, all in favor of approving the minutes from June 15th?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll start with the supervisor's report. As always, I want to give a few updates on some of our projects because we have a lot going on. First of all, I'd like to do a little bit of with the financials. The town board members get the financials on email because there's so much paper. But just to review, our cash flow is, we're at 104%, so we're 4% over budget on cash in, and we're at 83% of our expenses. So we're still underspending. Everybody's saving for the end of the year, primarily because everybody's worried about diesel fuel and the cost. I would say I'm not going to go through a lot more. I just typically go through our cash balances, which is separate from our capital projects. But we have in the general fund, $2,911,045. In the highway fund, we're at $504,714, including the $148,75 in the reserve. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow, Ed and I, and some plans for the rest of the year. I've got some correspondence that came in, but it actually is lined up with some of the things on the agenda. So we're going to read correspondence when those things come up on the agenda. I want to say thank you to a few people. One, to Mary Jean Calvi and her family. We had a wonderful resolution last month where they're giving us a beautiful granite 911 stone. We're not following up on it this month because we haven't picked the location. People have been on vacation. So we're going to pick the location where this beautiful stone that's been given by she and her family to us, probably out front by the flag is what we talked about. And then we'll finalize it and tell everybody where it is and who gave it to us again next month. Okay, but thank you to Mary Jean Calvi and her family. I also want to thank these great guys up on Highview. We have 3 guys on Highview, and I didn't ask permission to use their names. They may not want their names. It's John, and Pierre. How about that? But they are fantastic as far as alerting me on email when we have wires down and things that are wrong and all that. And then we have a new Verizon area manager, and there were all these poles that they had to replace. And then there were all those wires down in the clove. And when I called them, said they're still there the next day, and he was new, this area manager for Verizon. The next day they sent trucks out and they got 99% of them. I think one set they didn't see. That was kind of, all rolled up, but they're trying very hard. I think Verizon's doing a good job, but I want to thank the gentlemen on the Highview who drive around. They're really terrific. They alert us. We call our municipal, our contact, and it seems to be working a little bit better. And when it doesn't, I call Ed. The other thing, there's some very important things that are still going on. One is, as you know, the town is in the process of an annexation procedure, trying to annex the 76 acres of parcels that we have, not parcels, 76 acres. 5 or 6 parcels over in Beekman that have been part of Timor Park for 50 years. That's still in the process. The attorneys had oral arguments recently. We might not hear anything for a few more months, maybe in September, but it is in the process. And it would be a nice outcome if it went our way. We have no indication from those appellate judges what they're thinking, but I think in a few more months, at least we might get something in writing, and then it'll go to one more senior appellate judge. So it's still in the works. The cell tower appeal that was put forth by Beekman, if you remember, we wanted the cell tower in the park, and they lost that case when they fought us on that, and then they appealed it. It's been 2 years, it's been over 2 years. But anyway, that just recently, the appellate court reached out to the attorneys and said that they were getting ready to schedule it. So maybe after 2 years, that cell tower appeal is going to move forward. The only other thing I think that we're going to talk about peripherally are calls and questions that we get. And I'm just going to bring it to everybody's attention because the town board's going to have to talk about this at different times of the year again. One is fireworks and two is running stop signs. So we get lots of emails and calls. The old circle, which is now an intersection, people are starting to run. They've been really good for a long time. And now people are starting to get impatient, or I'm not sure what you would call it. And they're starting to run the stop sign. So if you're coming down that hill from the Dover direction or from Beekman, it's quite dangerous. So we got to, I don't know, we could get the sheriff's sign. We'll be talking about it more, but I want to put it out there in the public that residents are nervous about people running stop signs as well. They should be, that and speeding. So we're going to try to get more police patrols. We'll put some signs out to try to mitigate that, but please, everybody, watch the stop signs. When people call, they're actually, nervous. They're calling because they're scared for their spouse or something. With regard to loud fireworks, we're going to talk about perhaps reminding people before 12/31, December 31st. For some reason this year, there were more fireworks than people can remember, probably because it's been COVID or people have been locked inside. We're not doing anything right now, but we have to look at what the law is and, remind people that we are a rural town and we have a lot of animals and the dogs go crazy, the horses go crazy. And you said there were bears on the loose on Ridgecrest that were really nervous.
Very upset and very aggressive running around the neighborhood up there.
Yeah.
All the noise from that.
Yeah.
Disturbs them.
So I think it's just, we all have to remember if you're in a subdivision, maybe you move it over to Timemore Park. We have them here. We spend the money to share with the residents. But if you live right next door to people, because those people called and complained, but it's really, I think most of the complaints are about their animals. So be aware. I think 99% of the people that live here have horses or dogs. And so anyway, something that we'll talk about again later in the year. We have our annual constable training scheduled for August. They get a terrific new trainer that they're very pleased about. And that's really all that I had as far as updates, because there's a lot in the agenda where we'll do more. So at this point, I would ask that the town board members, if you have something to say, want to start with you, Councilman.
All right, I've been involved in a lot of the library discussions, and the latest from our library consultant, Alex, who I hope to see when be here tonight, but I guess not.
He's in Ireland.
Oh, well, the reason not to be here, but
yeah,
that and the annexation, working with the attorney, trying to help them build our case even better.
Councilman.
I have nothing to report this week. We got a lot of ground to cover. It's about 80 degrees in here, so I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Derlin.
I'll do much of the same, but I think we're all working on the library, so that's about it. Which we'll talk about.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Guzikoff.
So yeah, we have the library issue that we're going to go over tonight. Besides that, with the recycling center for the recycling booth, we're waiting for a couple other materials to come in, and as everybody knows, things are shorthanded and things are backlogged, and that's really the reason why we're getting a slowdown for that. So, but we are going forward, and everything's looking that we should be good. Right for this fall, we should be done.
Yeah, with the booth looks good.
Yeah,
it looks very nice. Thank you for that. Okay, at this point, our highway superintendent, Mr. Katie, would you like to report?
So basically we've resurfaced and graded West Coast Mountain Road, our own material that we made a couple of years ago, had it stockpiled. With the use of our New York rig, thank you for letting us get that. Very, very much. We are really working hard on repairing catch basins throughout the town subdivisions. We're having a lot of problems, issues with the cinder block risers on the catch basins are decaying. So see the guys out there in the subdivisions, be mindful that they're not always seeing. Don't hit that. We're getting some calls on, like Supervisor Moss mentioned, traffic signals as far as signage throughout the town. We've been putting up new signs. getting calls for people wanting me to post speed limit signs. It's my understanding without a state study, studying the speed, that those signs can be put up all we want. So I am putting signs up, but I can't. So, kind of just the sad end. So that's pretty much what we're up to. May have noticed our roadside shaggy, due to the increase in fuel costs. I put that off summer, roll around one more time. Hopefully that'll do it. Just keep going on the catch basins, potholes. It's, we do have, the trucks in the shop, preparing them for winter. So
Thank you. So in new business, we're gonna be talking about the roads, and I do believe Jeff Battistoni's on the line too. That when we do that law with him later, not tonight, but later, that if the town board takes some action that you can affect those speed limits. I mean, they say that in certain zones, under certain circumstances, and that would be something. We can write
something's
tickets.
better than.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for that. So Town Clerk Casey, would you like to give us a report?
Thank you. So as I mentioned in other meetings, shredding day is fast approaching. It is August 3rd on Wednesday. And I'll know the time, of course, the week of, possibly not till the day before. So just stay tuned. It will be posted on the website. And speaking of resident calls, we've been getting a lot of calls about bears, sightings and whatnot. So I think the most important takeaway, at least that I've gathered from the DEC website, is to keep your garbage inside until the morning of garbage collection. I think that minimizes it the most. But we did put up some tips on the Facebook page for other options for, keeping the bears in the woods.
So they could go to the recycling.
Yes, they could also use the recycling center. Always
Have
happy
a
to
trash
help
on
them.
street.
That's all I have for tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, town, before we move on, public comments on agenda items. Did Glenn want to say something? Glenn is home with the COVID, so he's on.
Can you hear me?
Glenn, I think you're on.
Yeah, okay, I just see you unmuted. Yeah, I do have a couple comments on the agenda items. First of all, thank you for letting me join via Zoom. I know I'm one of the few residents that are on Zoom. Unfortunately, I am restricted to my house right now, and I couldn't be there. I was actually a little surprised when I saw the Unionville Mail this morning saying there was no Zoom access because it's different than before. So which kind of goes to my first comment, and I'm going to largely read what I sent. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I couldn't for a minute, but I can now.
Okay. So I'm not sure what you missed there. So again, I was surprised this morning when it appeared as if Zoom access was not available, but I do appreciate being able to be here. Unfortunately, I can't be there myself. And please tell me if you can't hear me, because it sounds like I'm breaking up.
We can hear you, Glenn.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. Okay, do this for me. If I break up, please raise your hand. Okay, that way I'll see you and I know something going on. So I would like to, I'm talking about access via Zoom. It was a surprise to me when that restriction was put in place today. I would like to see a process or criteria that determines when that happens. I think it's important. I think people in a situation like myself who can't be there because of an illness, I think of people with physical disabilities and other things. So I do.
Hey, Glenn, let me can you talk about the agenda item? Because you and I can talk about, I wrote you back about that already today. You might not have seen your email, but if you could, since you're limited in time, if you have something to share about the agenda item, could you go there?
All right. So during the June board meeting, there was a commitment made to hold a strategic discussion open to the public when the library consultant finished his work. I'm not aware of that meeting happening. If it did happen, can give me the agenda? Can someone tell me how it was communicated? Can someone give me any handwritten notes from the meeting? Again, the June meeting indicated that there was going to be a discussion and I just haven't seen it. So that's one comment. My second comment has to do with something I've been on before, and that is a business plan. I'm hopeful as we go through this, indeed, I will see some sort of a typical business plan with finances as going forward, because I do think that that's a concern not only for myself and others when it comes to the library.
All right, your time's almost up, Glenn.
And lastly, there was questions about other libraries and what the operating costs are. Our town has mentioned Claverack before. Claverack runs about $272,000 a year operational cost. Copake runs $421,000. So please consider what other libraries are paying for operational costs when it comes to the business plan. Lastly, to make
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, I do like libraries. I just want to see some sort of plan.
Anybody else have anything to say? Thank you, Glenn. Sure. You want to, if you come up there, then we'll be able to hear you. Just Helga, would you tell everybody who you are? And
Oh, I'm Helga Weiss. I live on Balmore Road. I've been living here for 60-something years in this town. I love the town. I love the libraries. I belong to LaGrange because that's the convenient library to me. Now, what I don't understand is when all this started with the libraries, none of the residents, I was never notified that this was going to happen. Why was there nothing sent to the taxpayer saying, this is going to be a project we want to do? What do you think about it? Nobody said anything. And a lot of people, my neighbors, have no idea when I went to their houses what was going on. I don't think that's right. We should have more information.
are you talking about the meetings that you attended with the
Well,
library?
I
council?
attended meetings because I found out from someone else.
Oh,
But from the town, there was no notification to the taxpayers that this was going to be a project which we're going to be involved in. And with all the money it's going to cost this town, I would think it would have been right to be notified that this is going to happen. And if you want to be part of it, come to a town meeting. Not everybody has computers, emails, or whatever, especially when you get as old as I am. I mean, I'm lucky, I do have a computer, but a lot of the people I know do not have computers. So there's no way that they know what is going on. Now, I'm not for the library because I think we cannot afford it. I mean, we cannot afford to make it cheaper than what we would pay the 3 libraries to have the Mid-Hudson services, all the different services they give us annually. And then that's not even counting what it would
You have
cost for
about
the
20 seconds
library.
left, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's my thing. I'm against it, and I don't think it's a good idea. We don't need it. We got too many other libraries around. We were happy before all this started, and that's all we want, our services back. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I stand or do I have to sit?
Well, they can see you better if you
Oh,
sit
okay.
in your preference.
My name is John McGivney. I've owned property in your town since 1967. And I'm proud of my son. He says.
I was going to say, are you related? That's nice.
I'd just like to say something. I sat on a library board down in Kent. For 8 years, I served on the board. That became a town library at that process after my 8 years on there. I also sat on the planning board of the town of Kent, so I couldn't wear 2 hats. So I had to get off the library board. But I can tell you my experience with the library board is when we had a small town library, it wasn't funded by the taxpayer, it was funded by donated money and donated volunteers. Volunteers are very hard to get today. You can see it in your fire departments, you can see it all the way along. But putting a library in, when the town of Kent became a library, their budget tripled right off the bat. And that happens, it's just political things that happen. Somebody needs a job. The librarian was working part-time and she became a full-time librarian when she went with the town because the town, the taxpayers funded it. So it becomes a nightmare for the town. And I could tell you over the years, libraries with the internet today is not a thing that's needed very well. You can see it with the Beekman Library. The Beekman Library has a nice library down there. I go and I walk in the park there at times. I'm not a resident of the town of Beekman, but I use their park and I've used their library. Not a bad library. It's the Mid-Hudson system. And if you became a town library, you'd be in the Mid-Hudson system too. So your cost is not going to go down, it's going to go up. And the taxpayers are going to have to fund this. And I love this town. I like to compliment the highway superintendent because he's doing a great job in this small little town with doing things that work. You go into some of the towns, and sometimes if you go down, and I've always done this as a planning board member, I looked at other towns, and you learn from looking at other towns. If you look at the other towns and you find out what their budget was when they first started and what their budget is today. Mahopac is a typical example. It's a runaway train. And so is the town of Kent. But this is something that the taxpayers really can't afford. And it's not a needed thing. And sometimes these libraries have to find things to be able to do to show that they're doing something. They have to start going out doing things. And that's what happens. So it's not something that today with the computers, the only time you'll see anybody at the library is when the electricity
20
goes
seconds,
out.
excuse me, 20 seconds.
Oh, thank you. But I just like to, as a resident since 1967 of this town, I've seen it grow and I've seen many things. And you know what? People keep a tight budget, but I'm going to tell you something. Your sound system is not for anything. Your air condition, I'm surprised that you're looking to build a library and you don't even have an air conditioning system.
Oh, we will.
No, it's very noisy. Whatever you got back there, I couldn't hear you at all. And I'm speaking a little louder than you because you can't hear in the building unless you have microphones. So like I said, when I left the planning board, we all had mics, we all had cameras, we were all on up to the code. But today, I want to say to you, you don't need something that is going to be a burden on the taxpayers, especially the senior citizens. It's going to be a burden on them, and it's going to be a burden on the taxpayers, which is unnecessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to come up?
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Mary Jane Zakowski. I'm from Highview Road. I wasn't sure if I was going to speak tonight, but I just want to put in a little. First, about the library. I can relate to some of the things that have already been said, and I have come to one of the meetings in the afternoons and spoke what my concerns were. Obviously, I'm a senior. I look at things differently these days than I did in the past. Libraries are wonderful. I got concerned because 23 years ago, I moved to the area and I immediately saw from Millbrook to Beekman and Unionville in between as my community. And it seemed like with the efforts of the library, with us pulling out of the system, it fractured it a little bit, and that concerned me a little bit. I fixed it a little by, I still go to programs in Millbrook, and I belong to Friends of Beekman Library volunteering, just to still feel like everything is intact. I do worry about the future. The pandemic's been hard on all of us in a lot of ways. I'm so blessed that I've been able to pay my mortgage on time, pay my bills on time during the pandemic when so many people just couldn't find their way. I'm very lucky to have a roof over my head, food on my table. I worry about the future and future taxations, because for me today, everything is, it's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. Now I worry what's down the road for me. Now that I'd like to say I'm retired, but I choose to work weekends as opposed to semi-retired because that's too muddy.
Yeah, 30 seconds, though. Go ahead.
Okay. Now's the time for me to take care for the library services and do all I want to do and read all I want to read. I'm taking classes. I can access the British Library, but yet some of the services now locally, I can't. That bothers me. That's my feeling on the library. The second thing I'm just going to ask, just please keep it open for a while about a Time War dog park. Please talk to people that have been having experience with it for years, and there's many out there. You might be surprised and get some useful information. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we will be talking about that under new business. So, yes.
You can time me, John, but I'm timing myself too.
Fine.
Do you need anybody else?
I think it's okay. I have handouts if anyone wants any. Okay. Good evening. There is a theory that Proposition 7 in the general election did not pass. Oh, sorry, Karina Kelly, West Covent Road. Because taxpayers were concerned that paying $77,935 to Unionville's 3 neighboring libraries may have resulted in a tax increase. Now Unionville residents are faced with the reality of a tax increase that is at least 3 times the amount on the 2021 ballot, based upon similar libraries as examples. There's another theory. It's based upon the principle that things are not always what they may seem. Supervisor Moss fought long and hard against public library funding. She even went so far as to violate the authorized use of constant contact platform, which prohibits the use of endorsing a political party, candidate, elected official, or opinion. And you can read it on their site. Proposition 7 was birthed from an effort of fiscally responsible citizens who no longer wanted to sacrifice library services for the interests of the town board. It was created to ensure each resident of Unionville had full access to all library services the day following the election. Supervisor Moss had a different agenda, different interests. For months, Supervisor Moss had referred to a secret group of citizens that had established a 501c3 or nonprofit, and that she had no idea what was going on with that group. If establishing a library in the town of Unionville is something that residents are supposed to be so proud of and stand behind, why the need to be veiled in secrecy? Unionville Town Code upholds every officer and employee of the town to be subject and abide by the standards of conduct within that code. Section 26E, 3E states disclosure of interest in legislation. You can go to the town code to look into that, but basically what it says is every town board member or any employee or any volunteer in the town has to disclose any interest that may come up in legislation. So I'm now speaking to you as the town board as a whole. And please consider, if you were informed prior to any discussions regarding the Unionville Public Library or Proposition 7, that Supervisor Moss and Councilman Gusikoff both disclosed their interests in the Unionville Public Library Fund Incorporated, the IRS document here. Supervisor Moss is named as the incorporator, and Councilman Gusikoff is named as one of the 3 directors. Sadly, and most complicated legally and ethically, the town hall, AKA Unionville taxpayers, are named as the process address, meaning the residents of Unionville, not the incorporator, which is Supervisor Moss's home address, are held liable for anything should something happen with the 501c3. In conclusion, we have a town supervisor that does not have the residents' interests in mind, but her personal interests. She has created liability on the town taxpayers, and the residents were not informed or a party to. She and Councilman Gusikoff, I can only assume, have been violating the Unionville Code of Ethics since they were not the ones to disclose this information to the town board nor publicly to the residents. Now I see why efforts to establish a town of Unionville would need to be veiled in secrecy. Doing the right thing the wrong way is still the wrong thing. Dr. Jace O'Neill. Thank you. And I have handouts for anyone who would like the IRS document.
So just because that is so absolutely absurd, I'm going to say something. The 501c3, I filled out the paperwork, and one of our justices, who's also an attorney, processed it and instructed me as exactly how to fill it out. Councilman Gustafkoff's name is on his director because all that happened before he was actually elected. So he wasn't elected then. We were also told, because this is going to be a municipal library, that using the town's address is the appropriate thing to do to be served. Everything else you said is crazy. And Karina, I have to say, I mean, I have known you for a long time, you know, and I hate to say this, but it is, you just have to move aside at some point and let progress happen. During the library steering committee days, you were replaced as a liaison of the board by Councilman Welsh for unethical behavior. During the survey, you and your husband opened it, took it, forwarded it over 205 times. And I think that there's an edge about you with the library that maybe you're a little too close to the subject. So I don't know exactly what it is, but nothing that you said there, that 501(c) was set up absolutely under the advice of council, and it was done correctly. So you're, again, trying to create something out of nothing. And it's
lawyer has a different opinion.
Well, that's fine. Bring it on. Bring it on. If you want to do that, that's okay. But don't waste everybody else's time with that ugliness.
Well, I'm trying not
Okay, does
to
anybody
have
else
one more
have anything
liability
else?
for the town.
Does anybody else? Yeah, you're always in public worrying about liability. I understand.
Pat Carlemi, Rose Court. I just want to set a different tone and say thank you for everything you've done in terms of the library. Having young kids in this area, I think it's great to have a place for them to go, especially in our town, and something that we can be proud of and my kids can use and my kids' kids can use. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done on that. Thank you for putting it so that it will be controlled by the town board from here on to forever. It's great to have it in the park. It's great to be here. And I just want to say that it's something that this town should be proud of having, and not something that we should be demonizing. It's been going on for plenty of years, and it's happy that it's coming finally to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a public comment on agenda?
Anybody else? Maybe. Okay, that's good. Don't move, don't move.
Okay, then we gotta move on.
Sit down. Is this gonna squeal?
Very
Okay,
good.
so- okay,
Good
good.
spot.
Tillman, 35 seconds.
3 minutes.
All right, Tillman, Shaughnessy Road. We do not need a library. Please, people out there, look at the costs that have been presented by the town and that have been brought forward by others who have done the research. As you heard from Glenn Morrison earlier. I don't even want to go to the history again with the Connor family. That's gone by. Betsy brought in Alex Cohen to do a survey, to speak with the people in the town. I attended many of those meetings to get a feel for the need for library. I don't know all the things that you had listed for Alex to look at. He spent a lot of time doing that, and then he was supposed to get his ducks in a row and produce a product for, I was under the impression, for the public. And I came to your work meeting, I call it the secret
Right.
meeting 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and I was the only person here. And of course, I didn't even know he was going to be here making this presentation to the board. So what happened? Alex is not coming back?
He'll
This
be
is-
back. No, he'll be
this-
back. He's in
He's
Ireland.
on
and he's-
vacation.
No, he's on vacation. He's got a.
Wait a minute. I gotta take this
Library
off.
presentation in Ireland, and then he's got to go to another country. He'll be back. But he wasn't going to be here for this meeting.
Okay, but he was supposed to come. I thought, I'm losing my mind maybe. I know I'm losing my hearing. But he was supposed to come and present his final report.
He did.
Which we did,
And that was 2 weeks ago when I was the only member of the, oh, Pat came.
but that was his final report.
He's coming back again to do other things. He actually has one more report to do.
Okay,
But let's
This
hear
lady-
your comments because we have an agenda.
I
we're gonna do.
understand that.
So
But
share
I've
your
shut up for
comments.
quite a while now, so I'm talking tonight.
You got
so
three,
this-
come on.
This lady, now I forgot what she talked about. Ed, what did she talk? You don't remember either. Oh, go back to sleep.
The dog park?
Don't interrupt old
She
people.
talked about a dog park?
We lose, I can't remember. I'm senile. I'm off track. The report that Alex gave 2 weeks ago then, in your Wednesday night meeting. Was it? That was it?
It
And the
was
public has no more input? We don't.
well, the public had a lot of input. He met with the public quite a lot. This was put on the website last night. This was the study that he did. He has one more final report. But it'll be, he's traveling, he's calling, he's got a.
He's a busy guy.
He will be back, and I don't know if it'll be in August or September, but he will be back. We have more things to do. But he's got more stuff. He's got a final report he's gonna deliver. But what are your thoughts?
Oh. But it will be advertised, so people know to show up at these meetings. Yes?
We'll have to ask him about the last meeting. This particular report, he wanted to share with the town board.
So that's why you did it at the secret meeting. That's the first meeting of the month.
We have a workshop at the
We have 2
first.
meetings a month.
He just said, I'm not gonna be here for the second one. I'm going to
Okay.
Ireland. Can I come to
All right,
that one? He
so-
said, of course.
So Andrea's gonna give me a copy of this, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's on the website and it was sent out.
Betsy, I can't do that, you know.
So what else would you like us to know?
We don't need a library. It's gonna be too blessed expensive. Betsy, maybe you're trying to do a good thing and use the money ostensibly to make the big barn into a library to save the building. This crosses my mind. Is that one reason why you want to put it there? Because it is an historic building.
It's a good place because we own it and it's in the park, and the money we put aside was for the roof, which we have to fix.
Please know that there is state money available for old barns. I don't know if it's for a barn in a park, but I'm gonna look into it
But
for
we have
my
the
barn
money.
upstate.
We have the money. It's not, the money's already been allocated for the roof.
Okay, but is this why you're pushing for this library?
No. So if you want to, I think we have this on the agenda, and I think let's let everybody talk. Let's go through our
I'll keep
agenda,
coming to
and
the
then we're going to
meetings.
come back to it. Because there's been a lot that has gone on. Most of you sitting there want library services. We're trying to get you library services in a way that is sustainable, and you're complaining about getting library services. It makes no sense to people who've been here since the beginning of that library steering committee and watched the whole process. This is not a support Beekman club where we just want to send money to those various libraries. And I know that was written on the many times that survey was taken by Mr. and Mrs. Kelly. It was just send the money to Beekman, send the money to Beekman. And that is, I know that there are some people that feel that way, but it's a big process. There are many other people than those sitting in this room that are very interested in this project. So we have to do the right thing. We told you after the referendum failed that we were going to have a community discussion. We needed community engagement meetings. And that's what Alex Cohen ran. And then he came to us and he gave us his opinion about
giant
everything that
report,
happened.
okay.
So can we move on with our agenda? And I promise we're coming back to this because it's on the agenda.
And you went to the meetings, and it was usually about 3 to 1 of people who did not want to go along with this library versus the one who wanted to go along with the library. At the meetings that Alex ran, and you were there and I was there.
I don't believe that is true. I think.
Trust me, I'm a math whiz.
Right, and yeah.
Betsy, it's too expensive. We can't do it. It's going to jack up our taxes. Please, don't do the town dirty. The time,
Okay.
the time for having built
Time is
this
way up.
Time
library,
is way up, madam. Thank you very much. It's somebody else's turn.
that time has gone by. God
Time
damn
has
it, Ralph,
has
come
gone by.
back. Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have something to say? Would you like to? Okay.
I just wanted to say, being a resident of Unionvale for 45 years and know the Connor family personally, the Connors would be so happy to see a library.
Betty, just sit back a little.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's,
The Connors would be so happy to see a library and the town to approve different things in the buildings instead of being empty. So if we can, the town funds can swing the library, why not give the residents a chance to have this improvement
Mhm.
in the park. So I wanted to say I thank you for thinking about it, and I hope on the agenda that you approve the establishment of a library.
Okay.
So there'll be so many other things up there, you know. I heard elevators and different improvements going on. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't the residents want this?
Yeah.
I'm sure the Connors would like to see us enjoying their building rather than
That
see
was their
it
vision.
empty.
Mhm.
Thank you. I hope.
How
We
long
get
did,
it.
how long did you know the Connors?
I've known Mrs. Connor was my Girl Scout leader. Okay, that was 8 years old. I'm 75 now.
Wow.
So I knew them their whole life. Richie was the carpenter for the Connors and on their estate, as well as the park before it was a park and all the barns. So I think they would be so pleased to see this. They're a very giving family. And obviously we know from having a 500-acre park, the largest in the state of New York, and we have it. They
Right.
gave it to us. So maybe we can use the facilities in the park.
Did you ever hear him talk about a library, wanting a library?
I don't think back then, because this would have been in the 70s, you know, it would have been thought
You talked
about.
about a cultural center, you told me once, or no, dancing, performing arts place, something like that.
Yes, well, originally, I don't know, maybe John Welch remembers back when, the town under Don Wisman had planned this building to have an auditorium
Yeah.
and a cultural center. Okay, it was 1 million back then. For some reason, him being frugal, Mr. Wisman, talked the town board into reducing the whole thing to 800,000. And guess what came off the town
Yeah.
building? The
Those
whole
were in cultural center, yeah.
cultural center, the auditorium and everything.
And the air conditioning.
So
Yeah, there it is.
wouldn't it be nice now to give us something back in the way of a library
Yeah,
to all the things we missed out on back then?
yeah, it would be.
So I'm in favor of it. I hope you approve this resolution.
Okay.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to say anything about agenda items? Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you all very much. We're going to move on and cover a few things. We're going to go through the departmental reports pretty quickly. I think that the recycling center is number one. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to visit one or two other recycling centers. We're going to have a field trip and look at a couple because we need to redesign a few things there. As long as we're getting that nice attendance booth, then I think it makes sense that we go look at some because some of the way it's set up is just not working. So we'd like to look at the processes of another. So we'll bring that to you and in the future when we get to see at least two is what our thought was. Now, as far as parks, Councilman McGivney, do you want to read that report?
Parks report, July 2022. Community night was a great success. I want to thank all of our food trucks that came out, as well as everyone who came out and enjoyed the beautiful evening and the fireworks. Summer is in full swing. I want to thank the entire park staff and recreation staff for working as hard as they do and making Timeware Park a great place to be. The maintenance staff has been hard at work on multiple projects throughout the park. They were super excited to see finished, as well as all the normal things that come along during the summer camp and the pool.
Great, thank you. There's a CAC, which I neglected to put on the agenda, which I apologize for. There's a CAC CSC meeting. Does anybody have that one? No? Okay, I'll read that one. This is submitted by Jen Rubo on July 18th. So the Unionville CAC is working on several exciting projects. a pollinator garden near the recycling center and the solar array. That's their first one. The CAC is currently proposing plans for demonstration pollinator gardens. One will be located along the fence to the recycling center it'll be designed as a natural meadow with an array of native wildflowers and grasses. The second will be a intentional native species garden around the future flagpole that will be installed in front of the solar panels. The CAC will be applying for funding to implement both gardens through a grant opportunity through Partners for Climate Action Hudson Valley. Jen Rubo, chair of the CAC, will present the plan and budget at the August town board meeting. The deadline for the grant is September 30th. And I say they're very excited about the pollinator gardens and how attractive they'll be. Second, invasive species at Timor Park. The CAC is working on an application to gain support from the Lower Hudson PRISM to PRISM to remove invasive species from historically and ecologically important areas of Timor Park. They are also working on an application to finding out more information about potentially gaining support from the DEC to address the woolly adelgid. Is it Adele? Adelgid. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. An invasive insect that is killing hemlock trees, adelgids. And they're horrible. And we've got a group that hemlocks that are still surviving and doing well, and they want to keep it that way. Public events. There will be a fall stargazing event hosted by the CAC and the Mid-Hudson Astronomy Association. It's going to be on October 1st, which will be beautiful down in the bowl. Planning is underway for a spring wildflower walk in the park. Climate smart community work is the last bullet point. Work continues on compiling documentation about actions needed for bronze certification. Thank you, Jen Rubo and all CAC members.
Very busy.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. Okay, next up, we have recreation. Councilman Gusikoff, would you like to read that?
Town board update, 7/20/2022. Recreation. Our summer camp programs are in full swing down at the park. We've enjoyed welcoming back former campers and meeting new friends. Campers have had fun at our various organized activities, swim lessons at the pool, and our special theme days. Our first session was met with positive feedback from parents and campers got to watch a mad scientist show at the park put on by Mid-Hudson Mad Science. This session, campers had fun with friendly game kickball against Hillcroft Summer Camp. Thank you to Hillcroft for helping us organize that meet. The pool has been enjoyed by our camp programs as well as the public during the weekdays and weekends. Our aquatics team has been working hard for public and camp lessons and continues to ensure everyone enjoys the pool in fun and a safe environment.
Great, thank you, sir. Constable report, Councilman Welsh.
Sure. Okay, this is submitted by George Treadwell, June 2022 Constable report. Constables patrolled approximately 570 miles of town roads, including all properties, filling the Ford Explorer with 19.5 gallons of gasoline. The 3 court dates totaled 49 cases on the dockets, with 28 actual appearances, and 6 cases were dismissed for failure to prosecute. The officer failed to show for court. There were no issues to report. Constables had nothing to report during the patrols this month. Additional notes: 615 right rear flat tire repaired, 624 provided parking and traffic control for community night, 628 annual peace officer training scheduled for August 22nd, August 2022, and 628 assisted animal control with issuance of 3 appearance tickets for a dog issue. Respectfully submitted, George Treadwell, Constable in charge.
Wonderful, thank you. Animal control. Clerk Casey, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I don't have a written report because Mary Jean Calvi has been very busy, obviously, with her court cases. But she does have a Brittany Spaniel that is available for adoption.
We got it right there.
Oh,
It's been adopted?
is this breaking news? Oh,
Very good.
never mind.
We have tentacles all over the state.
Good work.
It's pretty scary.
Well, that's good news then. That's all I have.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I've been away.
Okay, thank you very much. As far as old business, land use moratorium to review town center zone and private roads has been extended, and we're getting closer to being finished. I just wanted to say that Pat Carlemi and others are working really hard on this, and we have met with some of the applicants that are proposing subdivisions and things in our town center zone and getting good feedback. And it's been a nice give and take. But one thing that everybody needs to understand that I think is going to be so well received is that one of the things on the table from our planner, the recommendations is that we take any kind of subdivision and make it into a conservation subdivision where the houses are clustered a little closer together, and 50% of the property is kept green, and they'll have trails through it, one road coming in with, bless you, with driveways. But it'll look lovely. It'll maintain a lot more green, and I think the houses may be clustered in smaller lots, but if you're building a subdivision, I think that the feeling is that's what those people are looking for. So I think the end result, everybody's going to really like a lot. So that's really the update there. And we'll be certainly bringing that to everybody. Like we do everything else, it'll be advertised on Unionville Mail, it'll be advertised on the website, but we'll be talking about that when it's finalized and the two boards have had a chance to review. Now, next up, town gift of land from the Rettle family. Our attorney, Jeff Battistoni, is on the line, but Jeff, do you want to say anything since you checked on that recently? We can hear you, I think.
Yes, I just unmuted, so I hope you can
There you
hear
are.
me.
Yes.
I did speak, or I emailed with Frank Rettle, and he told me that the family is waiting on an appraisal. They expect to have that next week. Once that's in, then we can execute the documents that have already been provided.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. So that's in the works and still coming. We expect in August to get some sort of a proposal from the DPW of the county, so how they might make that corner safer. So
Great.
that might be nice if they, so 10.3 is the library consultant. The Unionville Library Study was completed, as we were going to report tonight. This library study is 30 pages. It is on the website. We had a, very lengthy discussion with the library consultant during the work session. And he did come and we spent a lot of time. His intention was to talk to the board about this so that he could tell us what he found as he talked to all the people and what had happened. And it was an open meeting, but it was a very interesting meeting, and he will be back again. And I think where we are with, I think all of you guys are probably on the same email chain, but there were a lot of other people at these meetings that aren't on that email chain. And I think what he realized and what I got out of that meeting, and you guys can share what you got, what we got out of that meeting is the status quo is not working. We know that. Helga's been telling us she just wants to get back in her old LaGrange. The status quo is not working. And based on what has been seen and what was heard in the research he did, he talked to people in Albany, he talked to the head of MHLS. I mean, he did speak with many people and all the residents. It doesn't look to him like it's ever going to get fixed. So, and we kind of agreed with that because, we even offered the Millbrook Library, the amount of money for 2 towns, just so that because under education law, under education law 256, you can have a contract with one library and then get people some of their services back, those that we're not providing on the concierge basis here. And they turned us down because the libraries are all circled around us. It's like a wagon. They're all hitched to each other, and they are not interested in, one is not going to get money and the others aren't. And I will tell you that he did say he has never seen anything like that before, which I thought was interesting because we were wondering, because he goes all around the world for these libraries. And a lot of them copy the United States model. And I think he said in Saudi Arabia, they're going for a revenue model. So he's very knowledgeable. But the status quo is not working, doesn't see how it's going to get fixed because of that mindset of those circled wagons. And it felt like from what he learned that to me, at least what I took away from it, is that we have an opportunity because we own a building, we own land, we can do things much more, much easier than some. The libraries around us are all association libraries, which means that the assets are owned by association members. And I know there's a lot of confusion about who those are. A municipal library means that every person in this town that's a resident owns the library. And it is there's different structures. We've studied this for many years, as you guys know. But I think what we got out of it was There is a lot of talent here. There are a lot of people that are interested in more. Some of his slides that you can see on the web, where people express their interest in what they wanted on pieces of paper hung on the wall. The comments were great. I just, I think where we ended up with him was he said, it's a chance of a lifetime because most of these people are saying they want more. Even you want library services, but there's a lot of hitches as far as, I guess, how you want them. The other libraries are not going to let us pay $79,000 forever. They're just not going to do it. And we all agreed, given that the people in Beekman and Millbrook are paying more in their own taxes, they were not going to let us continue that. And I think he felt comfortable with that when he talked to the people in Albany, and everybody knows that they're nice people in Millbrook and these other libraries are all, they're fond of their own libraries, but they don't think that Unionvale should be getting off as cheaply as they are. So every year we're going to have the same fight. Every 2 years, we're going to have the same fight. It'll just never stop. And we've been doing this since 2010, when that recession hit hard and they decided they didn't have enough and they came after Unionville then. It'll never stop. And I think that we stood aside. He talked to a lot of residents. And what was interesting is I think he came to the same conclusion.
Mhm.
Did you feel that way?
I would also add that, we were put on restriction for financial reasons. Down the road, the restrictions could be put on for different reasons, such as population growth in other towns. If you have a library and your town is utilizing it so much that you have no room for extra capacity, you're not going to let neighboring town people come in and use it, no matter what they want to pay. You're going to say, our people own this library, they're going to use it, and that's it. So that isn't that far away right now, even though if we did pay, that might buy us a little time, but down the road, these towns are growing and the need is for another library.
Anybody else? Did you get anything different out of it, or?
I got out from him that we had the resource for it. It would be way more efficient with us utilizing the building that we already have built here. So that surpasses a lot of other towns that had to go out, build a building,
Buy
rent
land even.
water,
Yeah.
buy land, all these things. And that's why it was just very resourceful doing just the way we did.
Right, that's why I recommended it. Anything?
I agree with what Harry said and kind of reiterate what everybody else said, but he was very thorough. I think he, saw the writing on the wall. I think that we all see. We've explored this ad nauseum. I think, like he said, this is a very unique opportunity, considering where that location is in the park, around our rec center, around our senior center.
Ties
I
everything
think it ties it all together. So I think he did a nice job in helping us come to that conclusion, one that we've already researched ad nauseum.
And he was quite certain that it wasn't going to get better. Our status quo wasn't going to change. So I think that in our deepest, hearts, we want to do what's best for the town. And talking to a lot of the teachers that were there at these meetings, the last meeting was, I thought, the best one, because people were walking around and looking at the potential space. They looked at the senior center and then they walked upstairs and looked at the barn upstairs and the empty space up there. And they were writing down, what they thought should go here and there. And the teachers were most interesting to me because they're like, oh my God, what you could do with the space. We could have this, we could have that, we could do this. So I think that there was a lot of enthusiasm. And I think I think Mr. Ritter was one of the ones there that said, the one thing about a library, it's very difficult to get grants for recreation programs, but libraries put you in touch with a lot of resources and a lot of funding that our residents are currently out of luck on. We don't get any of it because we don't have a library. So I think that he did guide us the right way. We came in, we said, you talk to everybody. I think some people emailed him. He got a lot of information from people. And then when he did all of his homework, he said, I don't think you guys have any other choice if you want to keep your residents happy and give them the services that they really deserve.
I'd like to add just one other thing, mostly to the seniors that are on a fixed income. So I think probably 3/4 of the discussions that we've had on going forward with the library was about taxes, not to hurt anybody here, but just to give more to the residents and to make sure that they're comfortable with what we're doing. So it's not like a runaway train. we did this with a lot of thought, a lot of information to get where we are today. And like I said, 3/4 of the time was to make sure that revenue was built. Different avenues of income would be utilized to make sure that your taxes are not hurt. We're not, our main focus is to make sure that the residents are kept as fine as possible.
Yeah, but I think that with the seniors, the idea of customizing what's going to be there for our seniors, that things that might not happen in other places. And I think that was important, customizing it for teens with the cyber cafe, having the bookmobile/van so that the seniors can get a ride when they don't want to
Everybody in
come.
mind.
Yeah, we had, the thoughts came out for everybody at different levels and different age groups. And the thought was that this could be really exciting because it could be really different and it could provide people something. So, I mean, I realize nothing is free, but it's pay now or pay it later because the other libraries are not going to let us get it. If that guy's paying $185 a year based on in a library tax, we're not going to be paying 16 or 20. It's just not, it's not realistic to think that. And in a way, it's not fair. So, I think that we can, as a municipal library, the town board will oversee the budget. And what that means is that it won't be a runaway train wreck. But I think because the town board has a lot of experience with budgets, they might, some of the libraries, you can tell by their numbers, are not as good at this as others. And I think that will be a lot of synergies as far as information going back and forth. The trustees will run the library. They're all going to be, I'm sure, emotionally involved and terrific about library management. But I think that the money will be watched very closely by a town board, which I think is what Unionville also likes, which none of the other libraries have. So we've got some numbers here that we'll go over in a little while, but it was pretty definitive. He is coming back to do one more study and we'll get him then. And he's, we'll have another conversation with him then.
I'd just like to say something on your statement you just made. That's all well and good. Every one of you sit on this board might have the true interest of taxpayers, but when your term is up, the next person that comes in may not have the same thoughts that you have. And he may want to hire a crony of his to bring the budget up or to help somebody out. And that's how it works in the town. And if you check the history of all the towns, you're going to see it. If you have a commercial base, you can offset it with your commercial base. Unionville does not have a commercial base.
So I spoke with the guy that works at the Kent Library, and I'm just so that
the town of Kent didn't have a commercial base, much of a commercial
but
base.
no, I'm not talking about the commercial base. You're valid point. Absolutely, you're correct about that. But one of the things that happened with the Kent Library is that they got annoyed with the town board because the town board would not raise the taxes. So they had the 414 so that they could say to everybody, it's going to be 3 more cents per thousand, and raise it. And that's where they got the money from. So when they got frustrated because the town board did not want to raise it. And, they said, because the town board said, no, you've got enough. So they went outside of the town board, kind of like that referendum that some people wanted to have here last year that ultimately was defeated, but it didn't get defeated in Kent.
That is what I think would happen here. You've
got
people that have concern with the library to petition you to get the library in, but you have a responsibility to the taxpayers as an elected official.
And we take that very seriously.
And you know what? That elected official, sometimes you sit on that board. And I sat on the planning board for 25 years, and there's projects I see that didn't turn out the way I voted on. So it's something that you have to think about. Your next person that takes over your seat may have a different idea on budgets. So you might have all the
It's a good point.
But that's not going to happen.
I think it's a good point, and it really, it's something that has worried me. And I'm sure it's worried the others. It worries me, but I think if you pick the right trustees, and you get people from Unionville that know Unionville, you try to mitigate wherever you can issues and to try to do the best for everybody. But at the end of the day, where we came to with the consultant was the good far outweighed the potential bad, and that potential bad might not happen. The taxes have been flat they went down and they've been flat for 3 years here. They're going to probably have to go up, but I think that the benefit will far outweigh that. And we have to keep people like you watching for a long time because the board should sit on it. And I think with good trustees, it'll happen naturally. They're going to be from here. They're going to care. we're gonna have to have faith in some of our residents, I
But
think.
that faith is only gonna last as long as you're in office. When you leave office, the next person may have a different idea, and he has an open budget where he can do whatever he wants, but it's in a red. If government worked like businesses, it would be more successful. We all know that.
Yeah.
I had a business for 25 years, and I know my responsibility as a businessman to make it operate properly. Now, government doesn't think that way all the time. You have 5, 6 members on this board. Every one of them have an independent thought, and that's good, that's healthy. Everybody shouldn't agree. You should have opposition, because everybody that comes to the table should bring something with them and say, this is what I think, and it makes it healthy for government, makes it much healthier.
When the trustees could do that as well, but let's put a little faith in them. I think if we get really sharp residents from different backgrounds that have different qualifications, and I think people always have to remember when you're getting ready to elect somebody else, ask them what their viewpoint is. Tell them you don't want those taxes to go up unless they're showing you something.
Sometimes the position you take, we have a woman that had a sewers in the town of Kent. She lost her position because she'd done something right.
It happens too. Did you want to say something, Helga?
Yeah, just one quick question. What do we do now?
Okay, we're going to get to that. And I thought of you all week because you said that I spent that Saturday with you, and I heard that a couple of times. So we're getting to that. Okay. All right. So let's go to the playground at Godfrey Park. First of all, the MIG grant, which is the municipal investment grant that we applied for Godfrey Park, the announcement is going to happen on Friday. I haven't heard anything yet, but the announcement is happening on Friday. And I was asked to come to where the announcements are being made. So I'm only hoping that we get something, because why would they make me drive all the way to Poughkeepsie if we weren't getting anything? So let's be optimistic about Godfrey Park and the playground. As soon as I hear anything, we'll send it out, and you guys will know as well. We have a group on the green that wants to get together and help design it, which is they're very excited about. We have a new partnership, just to remind everybody, Hudson Valley Animal Rescue and Sanctuary. HVARs, they're on Barnes Road in Poughkeepsie. We don't send our strays to Dutchess County SPCA, just so you know. We've got a nice new setup. I'm going to table capital projects till next month. We've got stuff in the works, but we've got the air conditioner. We've got big, and Jake's on vacation, so we're going to take this up on Monday. We'll circle back to these, okay? And lastly, under old business, the dog park in Timor Park. So I got, interestingly enough, so we have a lady with us tonight, Mary Jane Zukowski, who wrote me a very nice email today. And then I got another email from Wind Valley Farm. And I'm thinking that if you don't mind, I'm not going to read your whole, I can put it so people can read it, Mary Jane, if that's okay. But I suffice it to say, we have one woman who really has not had a good experience with a dog park from Wind Valley Farms. And then we have you, who's had a wonderful experience. So, and your story is very touching. I mean, your dog really came out of a shell and everything. So this is wonderful. And they're like children sometimes, aren't they? And then this woman, she talked about, what was said at the last meeting with Mr. Doherty, that, about Red Wing and stuff. So we're going to let people read these, but basically here we are again at that last meeting. We had one person for and one person against, and I got two lovely, really well-written, interesting emails, one for and one against. So I think what we'll do is the town board is going to continue, we're going to take your advice. We're going to continue to explore it, talk to other residents, maybe go look at the couple of the ones that you mentioned in here. I'm going to give these to the board members too. And then we'll keep talking about it. Okay, thank you for the nice letter. All right, and then I'm trying to rush along because I know it's hot. Let's see. Oh wait, wrong month.
Large trucks.
Yeah, tonight we're having our real discussion, but we can just like touch on it lightly, guys. And that is under new business, large trucks and local road damage. So, I mean, one of the reasons I put that on the agenda this time, that Mr. Kading and I have been talking about it, but we got another letter. We're getting a lot of, if all we do tonight is make a list of things that we want to check up on, let's do that. But local trucks are damaging some of our roads. They certainly are driving too fast in some towns, in some streets rather. And people are complaining, and to rush it along, I've had complaint, there's a written complaint about Quinlan. We've had complaints about the far end, something going on there. We can talk about that. I'm going to get a list together with Mr. Katie, and then we're going to review them. But basically, you can share with us, and it would be helpful if you sent in your street. But what we have learned, and we're going to work with our attorney on this, but under vehicular law, traffic law, there's a 1660. And in 1660, what it says is that the town board can pass something, a resolution, and we can do a few different things. We can certainly designate areas that are traffic heavy, that, are like parking lots and things. You can change the speed limit, no lower than 15, but you can change the speed limit. But it all is it seems like the way that it works is the town board has to take some action. Pardon?
Can you force it?
Well,
Change the speed limit.
if we change the speed limit and we force it, we're going to have to change the way we do a few other things. In other words, we're going to have to permit the constables, if that's a discussion, but the constables, the peace officers can write tickets. And if we want them to do that, that's something, a lot of people are asking for. It's another discussion we're going to have.
Then that would only be on town roads, correct?
Yeah.
We have no jurisdiction for county.
Well, we can, this law is interesting because basically the town board can write a resolution or can pass a resolution, and we can designate county roads and town highways, not state. But we can designate Clove Road, and it says we can designate county roads and town highways as through highways and order stop signs, flashing signals, or yield signs erected on county roads or town highways at specified entrances and all that. So some of our straightaways are not going to fall under this, but also it looks like the town can enter into a road. This is something for you to think about. The town can enter into a road use agreement with any party seeking to use heavy vehicles. Like if you have an area of town where there's a business receiving a lot, and if there are heavy vehicles hurting the roads, the town can enter into an agreement. The enforcement mechanism under highway law section 320 provides for triple damages should the highway be damaged and the party not abide by the agreement.
How about on roads where there are bridges that are posted weight limits for the bridges, and I see trucks extremely significantly over that weight limit?
See, that's an enforcement thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you know,
I thought that was just a suggestion. Most of that.
Royal Carney does it every Wednesday on Cutler Lane.
oh, really?
Yeah,
I mean, most of that stuff is also done by traffic studies and things of that sort, miles per hour, weight limits, things of that sort, curb cuts. There's usually a whole study done with it to change speeds and things of that sort.
Well, according to this, according to the Association of Towns, who I solicited to give me the information, that we could enter into this road use agreement without any kind of pre-work. The town could, pursuant to its authority under municipal home rule law, enact a road preservation law that may be of interest to some of our dirt roads that requires haulers to establish bonds, among other things. And then she sent me a sample of a road preservation law. So we could set something like that up. And then pursuant to the 1660 that I just mentioned, the town could establish truck routes and tell the truck they have to follow proper procedure and keep them and we're anxious to hear what you have to say. But
I've seen this done before up north in New Hampshire, especially local weight limits due to the roads not being substandard and frost heaves.
Yeah.
But I have seen it where towns try to enforce certain weight limits between certain months of the year. But again, who's going to enforce it?
well, we have a story where this guy, that third Western Express truck, ended up at the top of Mack Road, and he got 3 tickets from a state trooper because he couldn't get himself. None of the 3 could get themselves out.
That's the driver.
So, but most of this is driver.
It's unbelievable.
They've done $28,000 worth of damage to this man and woman's property, not the town road, but trying to turn around and all that. So they're very upset, as well as they should be. So I mean, it's some of it is.
GPS issue. Yeah.
I think that's the issue there, right?
No, it's the driver not reading the sign that says.
We're looking at the type of road he's on.
Road limit or weight limit on the
looking at the
road, and they're
screen.
the signs are really clear.
Yeah, but they're probably gonna.
So we're gonna put a height restriction.
And they've probably been driving for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Across the road.
Oh, good.
Good.
Probably knock that over too.
It's a tough situation, especially since they're not getting reimbursed and they're very, Yeah, unless they take legal action. I just, I don't know. I just, it's interesting. I think we should read 1660. I'll give you the stuff. It's interesting. There's a couple of places, South Smith, we get a lot of complaints because of the trucks there. They're starting to go on West Clove Mountain. And I'm talking about Prime and FedEx. And if we can steer them away from West Clove Mountain Road, especially the dirt part. See, you made it too nice. But we could say no trucks, maybe no thoroughfare. I mean, I think it's something.
I've got those signs that we posted on Brush Hill because of the detour.
Yeah,
Right.
those are
No
good.
trucks.
Yeah,
I passed the US food truck tractor trailer coming down that thing at about 40 miles an hour this afternoon. So you're not gonna read the signs.
So we'll have to talk about enforcement, but I think if the residents hear this and you're having, you're having problem on your road and it's consistent and all that, you should let us know because we'll compile a list of, and then we'll figure out if it's in a zone or something. But just leave it hanging with doing nothing is a little unfair. And so anyway, we'll keep, yeah, we got to get some feedback from the residents and we'll keep reading the law and see if we can convince all these guys that are really experienced that it might work, then I think we'd have it. The drivers are really bad. Yeah, you met them, right? Sad story.
It shouldn't be right.
Yeah. Especially that big. See, we can't help who they hire. That's the bad thing. Okay, next up. I keep going to last month because I was silly enough to bring it with me. Good night. Talk to you tomorrow, Ed. Library budget and immediate plan. I should have known that was up next. Okay, here we go. Library budget and intermediate plan. So this is something that we Andrea, you have some of these. You may want to pass these out. Board members, you have this. So, okay, so what we did, and I did do this. You can yell at me for this if you want. I did do this. I haven't, this is the first time the board is seeing it. All the suggestions are in this, but don't blame them for the dollars. So based on the council, the advice we got from our consultant, which everybody heard, in Albany, they said it's typically 30, they said the low mark that you're not allowed to go under is $32 per capita for a library budget. The average is 67. I think it was 67. So, when they tell you you're not allowed to go, that you won't get a charter if you're not going to spend any money on your library. So $32. And so when we were discussing this, and I know that I talked to Alex about the budget, when we were discussing it, one of the things we talked about was we went with, we said, why don't we run the numbers at $55 per capita, which is not the lowest, it's not the highest, it's $55 per capita. And what would that mean? Now, basically what happens with this budget, that comes up to $250,000 budget. And a $250,000 budget plus work that we're all gonna, the fundraising committee is gonna help us with, and that we're all gonna help with. I can tell you that we're all very serious about this, is we are going to try very hard to, when the donations are pursued for the renovation on the barn, to ask people to please consider a sustainable donation. Like, would you write an extra check once a year for $100 or $1,000? Or in some cases, these people wouldn't mind paying more. So we are going to ask for that. And this is, so the budget of 250,690 would be based on residents. Donations, we assume that we might be able to get 15% in donations to add to that. It ends up with an annual budget with little few fines and fees and cyber cafe revenue of $250, little things thrown in. A total revenue of $291,000. Then you go through all the expenses, and I didn't do it by category because that's the trustee's job. They can figure it out. I'm not a library, expert on where they want to spend the money. But so, for example, in collections, what we noticed in looking at the other libraries is they don't spend very much on collections because they're spending so much on labor. If you look at their labor, I'm looking at the cheapest, as far as libraries go, LaGrange has 52%. Now they've got a huge budget, LaGrange, because they have a lot of commercial revenue, right? LaGrange is 52% of their intake of their total tax revenue is spent in labor, 52, which is perfectly admirable. Okay, that number of 52 is almost the lowest. I have Millerton Northeast, it's 46. It goes 60, 65, 69, 64, 79, 89. I mean, there is a library that is spending 89% of their tax revenue on labor, which is exactly what you were talking about, which is not what we need to do here. I don't think we would ever need to do it because I think that we're going to have some real advantages with recreation being right there. And with the line of sight vision of a long barn, you don't have multiple rooms. You know, in other libraries, they've got rooms, they have people in all the rooms. I mean, it's hard for them. We're going to have one long line of sight vision, and I think that would be very helpful. So I think our labor, we calculated the labor at 51%. And that's with 2 part-time people and 1 director. We had calculated the very top end on employee benefits. I put the most amount for insurance for the full-time employee, that kind of thing. So that could all come down. And then I made the assumption that we're going to teach, and I'm sure some trustees will be financially savvy, others aren't because they might be coming with an art history background or something. But we're gonna try to instill in them that small revenue, like from a cafe or maybe renting the place out, should go back into a savings account. That goes into the rainy day fund. They shouldn't be spending every penny every year, constantly be replenishing a rainy day fund. It may take a while to get up, but maybe the trustees might have something important.
If it's a town-owned property, they shouldn't have the authority to rent anything out. It should be up to us.
Okay, but we want the library. One of the things we talked about is putting all those shelves on wheels and moving them aside so that if somebody wanted to come in there and do something special, that they would pay to rent the space,
Fine,
and
but
that goes
they
to
should
the
pay us,
library.
not a library director.
They should what?
Pay the town, not the library director, because we're going to be the owners. We had that once.
See, we have
before.
our first arm wrestling now. The
Well, we
library.
had that once before with the senior citizens. The group down there was renting it out on their own and keeping the money, not giving the town anything.
Okay, I think that one of the things we're going to have to do is talk about that with the trustees.
Mhm.
And one of the issues is that they're going to have to try to be smart and seek out some extra revenue. They can't use the recreation part, they can't use other things, but they
Fine,
should
as
be able
long
to
as
use.
it goes to the town, not to the.
I don't know, John, I think.
I went through this with the lawyer with the seniors that time. The town owns the property.
Yes.
So any revenue should go to the town.
Okay, well, that's a point of discussion. And one of the things that that Alex wants to talk to us about when he gets back is how we can build in revenue building programs for the library so that they won't be relying just on tax dollars. So we'll have another conversation about that. But if we're going to put a library in there, they're going to manage that space. It's not, the library is different from a senior center.
I know that, but I'm just talking about the money. I'm not talking about managing the space. I'm talking about the financial.
John, with the senior citizens, wasn't it decided it belongs to the town?
Yes,
So the town gets the income. And if they
exactly.
want to shift some over
We
there-
have a budget for them for their activities, and that's where they get their money, not from.
But this is different.
If you're asking them to drive
Yeah.
revenue, then the money should go back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're asking them to come up with ways to drive revenue up.
that's fine, but as long as we get the money, that's my point. That they don't get it for their own fund.
I think this is probably a discussion we can have
Yeah,
later,
we'll talk about
because
that.
I think you're getting into the weeds a little bit, and we're just
Well,
giving
I'm
them a
just
high
commenting
level.
on what you're planning.
Well, it's not, this is not my plan. What's going to happen with this is that we will present it, and then it'll have to be discussed with
All
them.
right,
But if we are asking them to try to get extra revenue in, they're doing it for their own bottom line. So, I mean, there could be rules around that if you want, but like, if you have a certain number of people, it should be approved or something. But I do think a library is different, and when the trustees are in there trying to, like Friends of the Library might want to have an event or something, then they're going to do it so they can bring in some money. So we'll talk about it.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying money should go to us, not the director.
But it's all us. It's all us. It doesn't go to a director. It goes into the same pot, and then we could give it right back to them at the end of the year. It's all us. It's all one big team. So, and I think that'll be important. But anyway, that's certainly one of those things that we can talk about. So this shows what the expenses would look like based on a study of all the other libraries. I mean, I think we looked at 20 of them. And we had higher expenditures in capital expenditures in technology. And we even have equipment for new programs. And we even put on the capital campaign list. Would they possibly consider, would they be able to get us a little extra money in the capital campaign from the fundraising group so that the capital expenditures the technology and things that people want could be taken care of. And then of course, those monies go away as an expenditure. Those things will, go back into the budget then.
What is the cost of the state certified librarian, just a salary and benefits, or his salary and benefits?
Well, you can see on here, it's going to vary by experience. So I just
It's given everybody together 149,000. Is that the figure?
Now 102 for 3 people. The salary for the director I proposed was 50, then 26 and 26.
I know the certified librarian, when I was on the library board, she was part-time. And I know what her salary was. As a matter of fact, she was the only salaried person when we were a Kent-free library. When we went town, she became a full-timer and then many assistants with her.
And then they go into the retirement plan. I know,
No, I'm just saying, I'd like to know
I've
what
seen
the
it.
salary is, because you're in an area, you're not so far out of New York City, and a certified librarian is gonna make pretty good money.
So
With benefits.
we've seen people at 40,000, depending on
No,
what
you're
they,
not gonna touch
and
40,000.
not, I'm not interested in touching 40, but I'm just saying, let's table this discussion, because guess who hires the director? The trustees. So the trustees will have a budget. They're not going to want to go over the budget. They certainly know how to feel people out, and you give them the credit for, they will do their homework, and they will hire a strong candidate for
And
us.
when they can't, they'll come to you for more funds.
Well, then we'll say no. How about that?
Do
Can we
you
say no?
Do you say that to the fire department?
The fire
You
department,
know you need them. Do you say
the
that?
fire department is a district.
No, I understand, but do you say to the fire department, we're not gonna fund you? Because then that's when you get a paid fire department like they have out in Long Island. And that would bankrupt this area completely.
I agree with everything you're saying. But the good news is we're not in charge of their budget because they're an actual district. So if they want to raise their taxes up, they do. And when they do for a good reason. So I wouldn't say no for a good reason, would you?
It's gonna be a runaway train. That's what I'm trying to get at you, and you make a decision.
Oh, ye of little faith. Come on, hang on then.
No,
Okay, now the capital campaign.
Trustees, you keep talking about trustees.
The capital campaign is where we are with the capital campaign is we put things in there that we've subsequently found out that are really expensive, like, library furniture and stuff. So still the total dollar amount that we'd like to raise in donation is about 1.5, a little bit more than 1.5. Now, if you turn your attention to this, if anybody has this. So Andrea has extras that you can get from her if you want to walk through this with her. So basically the idea here, the idea here is to move forward. I want to get to Helga's question. The idea here is to move forward on 2 fronts. So we can speed up the process by using the senior center now. Okay, so the idea is that first, this is what has to happen. The town board has to pass a resolution approving the library, and we have to prepare a preliminary budget. And when we find and get some trustees involved, the preliminary budget will even get more fine-tuned with their help. All right, but the town board has to do those 2 things. Then we solicit applications for library trustees, and we're going to appoint 5 trustees. Okay, we're a small town. 5 seemed like a good number. Fundraising efforts will then also begin with the fundraising team. And I do know that it is a lot easier to say that the town board voted, the resolution passed, and we're here, otherwise people say, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Let me know come back and call me if it passes. So this will make things easier for the fundraising group to get started. Okay, so that happens at the same time that we're finding our trustees and we're appointing our trustees. And it'll take a little while to find the 5 people that we're looking for with a frugal background to please, and you're making sense. We'll find the right people. And the way that the law reads, though, that when the trustees are all 5 appointed, that they have 30 days to submit the paperwork for chartering, because our intention is to get chartered. We want to charter start. We're going to do all the beginning, the basic stuff with the senior center so that we can get the chartering in. And then I think they might even help us. We talked about this because They know we're on restriction, and we've tried with a couple of different ways to offer money, and nobody's taken us up on it. So they might even, make that chartering go quicker. So we'll use the senior center, Helga, to say, here's the space. We're gonna put all the required things that are minimum, that are on a list right here. All of that will go in the senior center as soon as possible. And then the paperwork will go in for chartering. And if we get it takes 3 months for the regions to look at it, but to even look at it. But once that is done, and if they approve the charter, and I think they're going to be pleased with the package that's put together, and Alex has spoken to them several times, so he knows what they're looking for. But I think that we'll get a chartering sooner, and once that we're chartered, even if it's just in the senior center temporarily, which is an unrenovated spot, then you can do whatever you want in anybody else, because we'll be part of the system. So that's what we're doing, the two-pronged approach: raise money on this hand, go down this path and raise money to renovate the second floor, while we're chartering on the senior center, so that people can get back in with full privileges as soon as possible. And the trustees will apply for the charter. They have to do, we'll work with them, of course, but they have to put in all the written policies, the bylaws and all of that. They'll put that in. And then we'll keep preparing the senior center to hit the minimums and make sure it's in good shape for people. The trustees appoint the library director, and the library director will then oversee the senior center and help give everybody comments on what's going to happen on the second floor. Then it'll be at least a year. The senior center will be approved and appointed before a year later. It's going to take a while before the funds are completely raised and the construction starts.
How do the trustees get paid?
I think they're volunteers.
Good, thank you.
So that's actually, it's like being on the planning board or the town board. You do it because you want to do it, and their heart will be in it, which is a good thing. So that's the plan, to get us chartered quicker using the senior center. And we have concierge services, what we've been calling concierge services, where we have worked with Baker Taylor, and we've got, we can get anything like ebooks and audiobooks and all that. You tell us what you want, we can order it. That will continue to work on so people will have stuff. The only group that we can't really help are the 8-year-olds wanting to get in story time. And I had 2 seniors tell me that they had trouble with grandchildren getting into story time. So that also will help us speed up this process, because we don't want that to happen. So, and there's a lot of wonderful reasons, that we'll talk about again when Alex gets back, but what we can do with children and what a park can do, how we can help seniors. So there's a lot of good things to talk about. But tonight, I think, we're going to send out an application tomorrow that looks like this for trustees, for people to raise their hand if they're interested in being a trustee. And so they can fill this out and send it back to us. And I'm sure we'll get some very caring people that have various backgrounds, which is what we're going to ask for, that will help. We know the minimums of what we need to do to the senior center. It is not, the bar to get chartered is not that high. So it won't cost us a lot of money. We've already got our concierge service. So we have the stuff to put in, but we have to get some shelving and we have to do some things. That's not a big thing. And then our fundraising team can start their job, which will actually be, I think, fun for them. I think it's fun to talk to people about something that's so exciting and have them say, I'm in, I'd like to help you. And we're hoping that'll be from bricks on the ground with your name on it to names on, the walls, and, that's all to be determined by another group. So we're going to have lots of teams working on this, and we'll stay on top of it together. But I think, given where the libraries are and what they've said to us, as we said before, and the last time, is that I don't think we have any other choice. And as long as we're going to do it, we better do it the best way possible and the smartest way possible, because we have a lot of people that know what they're doing involved. Peter Krylowicz, do you mind just waving so they know? Peter is the president of the Unionville Library Fund, and he is going to be in one of there's like 5 people. Sarah, do you mind saying hello to everybody?
Hello, I'm Sarah Burns. Nice to meet you. I've been in the area for 40 years, and I'm very positive about the Unionville Library.
And she's a fabulous fundraiser because she believes in things, and she's also on that team. So we have some, and they're obviously not all here. We have some wonderful people that are participating in this, all because it's time and because they have the residents' interest in mind. I thought everybody'd be so happy about this because everybody wants library services. So we're trying very hard to get them to you and be as smart as we can about it.
Will be a date set for a public hearing?
There is no public hearing.
There's no public hearing.
No.
You're not required to have one?
Not required to have one. We're not bonding this.
The laws must have changed since I was on.
Well, probably because a lot of times they bond them, but we're not bonding. It's usually tied with bonding, but we're not going to be
Well,
doing
an
that.
expenditure like this should have a public hearing.
Not required.
It would be in the best interest of the town.
Well, not going to do it. I'm sorry. I mean, we've spent a lot of time with this
It would take you
consultant.
off- It would take you off the hot seat.
I'm okay. I mean, it's not a personal thing. I think it's the best thing to do for the town. I think we have a lovely letter from Ralph Connor when it was suggested that he put the library down in the park, and he said, I wholeheartedly endorse that idea. So our founders want it, and a lot of our residents want it. And I think, it's the right thing to do. And it's a chance of a lifetime for the residents here. And you know what? It's not for Alfreda. No, wait a minute. It's not for you either. It's for the next generation. We have to think of the future and we have to take care of it. It's not for me. So,
I understand.
yeah, we have to do that.
How do you know how people feel if you don't have a public hearing?
Because the same people come to the public hearings as the people that are in this room. We've been out talking all them, and you know what?
This is not the.
Well, you know what? If
the whole of the town.
I will tell you that the referendum would not have been defeated. The referendum would not have been defeated if more people agreed with you.
I've had public hearings where we had to take to school.
I know, and you were doing it for 25 years, but things, we know this town well and we've worked very hard on it. So let's, pardon? Oh, yeah. Alex had some very good meetings. He heard the same story from the same people that several of whom, not many, are in this room. I think that he was very thorough because he did find some other people that were on the other side and that had, I think he did a good job. He didn't know where we were. He was listening to all the people and then, we were.
I do know when the town of Kent did it, they had a public hearing. And they had to rent a school building because they had an overwhelming amount of people there.
You know what? We are not the town of Kent.
For and against.
Okay, I hear you. Time out. We're gonna move on to the agenda now. We are not the town of Kent. We have been very thorough about this. We spent $20,000 on the consultant seeking, which is hard to do. But we wanted somebody else to come in and talk to us. We had a fabulous conversation with him when he shared this deck or his notes. These were his speaking notes. Everybody can look at it. I think we've done our homework. And I think that I can't speak for everybody, but I think we need to move on with the agenda. And everybody's try to be positive. Try to be positive. Because this is for our future and for the future that are coming along behind us. And I think in that regard, we should be small benefactors like Ralph Connor and his wife. Okay, is there anything else?
Well, we got to do the resolution.
We have one resolution and then we have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
That's your favorite part.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Want to do the resolution?
let me just get to it so I can read it along with you if you don't mind. Where are we?
It's only 85 degrees here.
It feels like 90, doesn't it?
So this says the study is completed. Is Alex gonna get paid more when he comes back to do more stuff?
Okay, Councilman Welsh, would you mind reading resolution 31?
Yeah, resolution 31-2022, authorizing town board the establishment of a public library. Whereas the town of Unionville, founded in 1827 in Dutchess County, New York, being in possession of a beautiful 500-acre municipal park called Time Warp, does not have its own public library to honor the wishes of our benefactors, Ralph and Jean Webster Connor. And whereas in Dutchess County, the last newly established public library was 19 years ago in the town of Clinton, New York, thereby making Unionville the last town in Dutchess without guaranteed and consistent full access to library services. And whereas the town board of the town of Unionville is interested in creating a positive change and improving the quality of life for all residents of the town by establishing a nonprofit educational organization where children, teens, adults, and seniors can be exposed to and enjoy cultural arts, reading, printed and electronic materials and media, conversation, camaraderie, exciting programming in entertainment and education, where one can pursue new careers, host and attend meetings, record podcasts, make movies, and enjoy any tools that develop in the mind and make life interesting. And whereas the state of New York, through its Department of Education, provides a governing structure and supports a network of library services designed to provide many independent education services, resources, and financial grants that a Unionville library and residents of Unionville can benefit from. And whereas the town board of the town of Unionville feels that the guidance, oversight, and support provided by the Department of Education, along with the requirement that the town board appoint 5 to 15 trustees to oversee library management, means that a new institution would be carefully nurtured and, along with the town of Unionville, support these important resources in the best interest of the public. And whereas this proposed appointment of trustees involves no physical project or action requiring an environmental review, which review will be conducted as required before the formulation of any proposed action. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville, according to Education Law 255, does hereby take this historic step on behalf of all residents and authorizes the establishment of a public library to be known as Unionville Library. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville, according to Education Law 260, will solicit applications for interview and appoint 5 trustees for staggered terms of 5 years to see our new library through the chartering process, hire a director, and properly guide our newest institution forward.
Great, thank you, sir, for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Clerk Casey, can you have a, we'd like to have a roll.
I'd like discussion.
We have, oh yeah, we should have a discussion. Sorry, I apologize for that. Do you, 1 second, we'll do the roll call. Is there any discussion? Sounds like there might be. Yes.
I forgot to mention before, I got about 3 or 4 emails today from residents voicing their opinions about this library. You guys probably received it also. All 3 or 4 of these emails urged us to vote no on this resolution for various reasons. A common thread with all these emails was the financial side of this decision. This library is going to cost us more than what we would be paying now. I understand it would be ours here in Timor. At face value, it's a great idea, but there's going to be a cost associated with that to the taxpayers. You know, you can't guarantee donation. We know kind of what the operating budget's going to be. It's going to be higher than that in the beginning. So like I said, this is going to come at a cost to the taxpayers for the same services that are 2 miles down the road.
Who are the 4 people that you heard from?
I don't think we're going to be recreating anything here that's not going on at other places. I got an email from
They're not here.
Dana Kilcrease,
Dana, yeah,
Franz Tillman,
right.
Bonnie
Ozurkis.
Ozurkis. So maybe it was 3, but all were
Similar.
common thread of urging us to vote no.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Is there any other discussion?
No.
Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Derlins,
Aye.
Councilman Gusacott,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney,
Nay.
Councilman Welsh,
Aye.
Supervisor Ross.
Aye. Okay, resolution 3122 passes. It's a very historic thing. It's a very exciting thing. And I think that we will do it in a way that people will see, they won't get nervous. We've done it well in the town. I think that we can pass that on and be okay. I'm an optimist. Okay, at this point, Councilman Welsh, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we pay the bills and approve any budget adjustments if needed.
Not tonight on budget adjustments. I can second the motion to pay the bills.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed to paying the bills? Okay, the bills will be paid. Thank you. And that will be a public comment on any town issues other than the library or anything that was on the agenda. Do you have a different town issue?
If you didn't have to give the names of the people who sent him emails against the library.
You didn't have to, but he had a common thread.
You asked.
Then we should hear the names of the people you claim are telling you all the time that we gotta have a library.
Okay, Mrs. Tillman.
No,
Come on, seriously.
Okay, stop talking. The meeting is going to be adjourned now. You need to stop. We've heard plenty. Thank you. And those people will come out on their own. It's not up to me. They haven't written me a note. I'm happy to share it, but they'll come out on their own. They'll come out on their own because I think they're going to be very enthusiastic. Okay. Thank you very much.
Motion adjourned.
Second that motion. All in favor of adjourning. This meeting is over. Thank you very much for coming.
Have a good night, everybody.
Congratulations.